Okay, so everyone's heard of Romeo and Juliet. It's one of, if not the most famous romance of all time. But of course, that distinction has a slight disadvantage, as whatever adaptation is made will be subjected to faults and flaws compared to its predecessors, be it on stage, on screen, or down to the finest lines of animation. So the solution? Make the story as far away from the original, yet close enough that people can compare it to the norm. Thus, Romeo x Juliet. Or is it Romeo Juliet? You know, like Hunter x Hunter? Anyway, Romeo X Juliet is one of those gems that distincts itself as a gem due to the circumstances of its existence. One is loosely based on Romeo and Juliet. It can be polarizing for people who know the story and are expecting the straightforward route, not aware of the show's fantasy elements. Secondly, it came out in 2007, you know, the same year that gave us Code Geass, Gurren Lagann, More Haruhi, Bakano, Goodbye Mr. Despair, Clannad, Lucky Star, and previously Afro Samurai, so it was a pretty heavy year. But in its defense, it's an impressive adaptation, diverging from a Shakespearean formula to deliver a grand, more intense version of the story, with mystic creatures, high-end sword fights, and a radically different ending. Though I guess the principle's still the same. Spoilers, I guess? So, I guess I have the credibility to explain the plot of Romeo and Juliet. In the city of Neo Verona, the Capulet family is slain by the Montagues in a coup. Yeah, different. The surviving daughter of the Capulets is Juliet, who grows up as a boy to conceal her identity and takes up the sword to fight against the corrupt nobles as a mass marauder. One night she attends a ball held by the Montague family where she meets Romeo, where they fall in love at first sight. But of course, being of enemy families, they don't quite embrace their feelings at first and slowly begin to actually fall in love. But then, Romeo's father, the tyrant of the city, is dead set on gaining more power and killing the last of the Capulets. From here on, the story turns into a war of attrition between Romeo, Juliet, the Montagues, and another party aiming for the destruction of mankind as we know it. What's the fate of the magical city with tainted leadership? Will our star-crossed lovers be able to reverse the flow of destiny to love more and openly? Have you seen the play? Setting the play aside, this anime's turn into a swashbuckling fantasy was probably the smartest thing they could have done, adding in the highly intense adventure and the whimsical tones of the genres to a story already filled with drama and romance. It hits a good balance of style, action, and emotional tells that emphasize the suggested strength of the original story in a fresh format. For example, despite Romeo and Juliet falling in love initially, it does bring up the problems of the past and how they need to tread carefully, being smarter but more fragile than their literary counterparts. Speaking of, I have to say, I really like this Romeo and Juliet. They're organic. They emote accordingly to their surroundings and to each other. They aren't just blind teens in love. They actually have heads on their shoulders, and it's this new feeling of love that rocks their judgment for the better and the worse. Plus, Romeo's a sweet caring guy while Juliet's an ass-kicking swordswoman. That's pretty awesome. I really like their chemistry. They come off as teens exploring their love in a world that won't let them. It's a formulaic tragedy, but really works in this world's high-stakes environment. The show also excludes some characters while adding others of different Shakespearean works, like Cordelia of King Lear replacing the nurse. There's even a flamboyant playwright character named William, and I think it's complimentary? It's an interesting tie-in that really doesn't affect much, it's just a neat detail, except for the exclusion of Prince Aeschylus, which is relegated in a bigger role in the story. The ending, surprisingly, is a part that I can't really spoil despite everyone knowing what ultimately happens, but I honestly do like it. In the original, Romeo and Juliet commit suicide with each other after a very unfortunate miscommunication that leads towards more unpreventable tragedy, if anything. Here, without giving too much away, the stakes are much higher, with the ultimate test between our heroes' love not decided on staying with each other, but rather letting go because of how strong the love is. It's a smart rewriting of the traditional ending, offering a completely different idea with a similar outcome that stays true to its own purpose. After a ton of fighting, sacrificing, and kisses, I think it's one of the smarter endings they could have given it. And let me just say, the opening is fucking phenomenal. It's one of my top 25, top 15 maybe. It's a cover of You Raise Me Up by Lena Park, and it sounds heavenly, and the visuals are stylistically in tune with the vocals. I don't know what it is, it's not particularly impressive, but I just have this overwhelming feeling of blissful melancholy whenever I watch Romeo and Juliet fight and be with each other. It's a fantasy shoujo opening, but it treats itself as this gentle epic of two star-crossed lovers. I can't really hate it. Now, Romeo x Juliet isn't a masterpiece by any means. It has its pacing problems, I can see arguments of moving too far or too close to the original, and the rest of the cast isn't as interesting as the couple, especially the villains. But I think it's one of those adaptations that does itself and the original source more justice than people think. It has two great leads in a deadlock drama, some intelligent writing, a refined nature to it, and a wonderful opening song. That alone is worth something. I don't know, call me a sappy sap or whatever, but I stand by that this is one of the best romance anime in the past 20 years. It has kick-ass fights and subtle drama even Shakespeare would like, and that's a sentiment I would die with.